Hello friends, welcome to Database Academy. In this session, we are going to see the most frequent asked SQL and PLSQL questions and answer for beginners. Okay, so let's start. The very first question can be asked like, what is the difference between PLSQL and SQL statement? So in SQL, we can't use a conditional and looping statement, but in PLSQL, we can use a conditional and looping statement both. Let's understand. So this is a very simple SQL statement. So after executing, we are fetching the employee name and employee salary. And this is a PLSQL block. Here I have already written a PLSQL block. In that I am using a select statement, and based on the employee salary I am adding a condition like if it is greater than 5,000, then it is printing that employee has a higher earner. If it is less than 5,000, then I am printing it's a low earner. So that's how we can add condition in the PLSQL block. Also we can use a for loop condition in the PLSQL, but that we cannot use in a SQL statement. So that's the difference one. Second difference is all SQL statements are executed by the database one at a time. Thus, it's a time consuming process. So in PLSQL, it allows a multiple SQL statement to be executed at once in a block. So that's why it's a faster than SQL statement. Let's understand. So this is a simple SQL statement. If I execute this, it is fetching the data from employee table. If you want to execute like fetch data from another table, we need to execute again select a statement to fetch the data, right? This how it's a time consuming process. And here if we see this is a PLSQL block where I am fetching the data from employee table as well as in the department table also. So we can execute multiple statement in a PLSQL block. So the PLSQL block, that's why it's a faster than SQL statement. In SQL statement, there is no error handling procedures are there in SQL. So PLSQL supports a error handling. What does it means? That it's in a select statement there is no exception handling is there separately. But in PLSQL block, we can handle in case there is any exceptions occur during execution of any statement, that we can handle here in this statement. So there is a section in the PLSQL block that we can use to handle the exceptions. So that's the difference. The next question may be asked like, what is anonymous and named block? So anonymous block is when a block of the code is not stored in your database. So like this block. So this is a PLSQL block, but I haven't mentioned any name for this PLSQL block. So temporary I am using, and it's not saved in the database. So this is, we can say that it's a anonymous block. Anonymous block, that means there is no names stored in a database. Named block when a block is named and stored in your database like procedures, functions. So if we see that there is a procedure, so this procedure is what it is, we have saved in a database like a calculate salary increase. So this is the procedure name, and inside that there is so many DML operations are happening. So this is called a named block, and we can say that this is a named block and this is the anonymous block. Okay, that's the difference. Okay, let's see the next question. So the third question is, how will you differentiate between a row num and a row ID? So row num and row ID both are a pseudo columns. Pseudo columns means a column which does not exist on a table physically, but we can use this in a any select statement. So row num is used to get the row number of the selected query output. Like if we have a 10 records in the employee table, and if we use a select row num and the employee number from the employee table, the output will be like in the row num column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 10, and the employee number will be based on what is saved in the database. And row ID, it's a physical address of a row which cannot be duplicated. So if you get a question like what is the fastest way to get the row, that we can say that through using a row ID. Okay, let's understand using statement. So I have this is statement, select a statement. In that I'm using row num and row ID also. So both is a pseudo column, so it can be used in any SQL statement. It's not like a employee table only. We can use this row num and row ID. We can use this in all the select statement. So if I execute this select statement, see, I'm getting all the outputs from the employee table. So currently I have only 4 records, so that's why it is the row num is displaying up to 4, 1. So this is a row num of the records, and this is the row ID, the physical address of the rows where exactly it is stored in the database. Okay, now let's understand how row ID is the fastest way to fetch the record. Let's see. If I'm just mentioning the select star from employee, where row ID equal to, I'll mention the row ID here, and let's select and execute this one. See here, so even though if we have a row ID, that also we can fetch the record. So that is, and it's a physical address of the record. So it's the fastest way to fetch the record. So that's why if you got a question like what is the fastest way to fetch the record, you can simply say that by using row ID we can get the record faster. The next question may be asked like what is the difference between truncate and delete command. So both commands are used to remove the data from the database. So truncate is a DDL operation while TDL is a DML operation. So in truncate, it remove all the rows from the tables, and we cannot use a rollback here in the truncate because it does not require any commit statement. But in delete, we can roll back the transactions using rollback command. In truncate command will free object store space while delete command does not. Truncate is faster compared to delete. I already have a video on delete and truncate command which you can refer to understand in depth. Let's see the next question. So next question may be asked like what is the difference between type and a row type. So type provide the data type of a variable or a database column to that variable. Like VEMP name is a variable name where employee is the table and dot EMP number is the column name, ampersand type. So whatever the data type of the EMP number is defined in the table, that will automatically assign to this variable. Okay, so next question may be asked like what is the difference between type and row type. So type provide the data type of a variable or a database column to that variable. Example like if we have a variable like employee number, here I have mentioned the employee dot employee number ampersand type. So what does it means? It means that whatever the data type defined in the table for employee number column, it will automatically assign to this variable. So we don't need to mention like varchar to number, or we need to check the tables and then we need to mention here data type. That automatically it will take care. A row type provide the a record type that represents an entire row of a table or a view or column selected in the cursor. So for example, here department record is a variable that we have defined, and department ampersand row type. So all the column of the department, it can store this variable. So let's understand. So here this is a PLSQL block. In that I am defining a one variable employee ID, where this employee ID have a data type of a employee ID. So employee tables dot employee ID ampersand type. So this employee ID data type is assigned to this employee ID variable. Similar way, this employee variable is referring to employee table using row type. So all the column defined in the employee table will automatically, we can get it in the v variable employee. Here in the v employee ID, I have mentioned the employee ID hard coded, and through this I am fetching the record from the employee table. So here in the select statement I am using star. Star means all the columns from the employee table. So all the column from the employee table, it will store in the this variable and employee ID is hard coded this one. So when I execute this, if I execute this, let's see this. See what I have mentioned, that employee name. So employee name, I have variable, this one, the employee variable dot employee name. What does it means? It is showing the employee name. So if I want any other things like, so I'll here we will see that how many columns we have in the employee table. All these columns we can print here. So let's add some other columns. So here just mentioning the another column will, let's say, employee salary. Employee salary. So now if I execute this one, it will print the employee salary as well. This is the salary of the employee. So this how we can print all the columns. We don't need to define multiple variables for these all columns. Only one variable can be handle all the data. Okay. So this how this row type is very important and useful also. Let's see the advantage of this row type and type. You don't need to know the variable data type. As I have already said that we don't need to know the data type of a employee number, this column. Okay, it will automatically assign to at runtime. If we change the data type of a column which we refer in the type or row type, we don't need to modify our variable. So in let's say employee number having a varchar, and tomorrow we change varchar to number. So we don't need to modify our code, it will automatically take care. A similar way it will happen in the row type as well. Now next question may be asked like, what are the difference between union and union all? So the main difference between union and union all is like union return unique record, it remove the duplicate records. But in union all return all the records including duplicates. So that's the main difference between both. Let's understand with the example. So here we already have an employee table, in that we have 4 rows. Here I am using union all and just selecting the same employee table. Okay, so here if I execute this query, it's returning all the column, total 8 row. So even though these are duplicates row, still it's printing all these duplicates row. So total records are 8 rows now. If I change to union, so in union it will remove the duplicate rows. So it will print only 4 rows which are unique. So that's the difference between union and union all. let's see the next question. The next question may be asked like, what is the difference between decode and case statement? So both decode and case statement will function like a if-else condition, and they are alternative for each other. So case is a statement where decode is a function. Case can work with logical operators. So case can work with like greater than, less than, equal to, between, like operator. These all logical operators can be used in case. But in decode perform an equality check only. Case can work with predicted and searchable subqueries. So we can use subquery also in if-else condition to find something criteria. We cannot use a searchable subquery in decode. We cannot use a subquery inside the decode function. Case can be used in SQL and PLSQL block both. Decode only used in SQL statement. Case can be used as parameter of a function or procedures. Decode cannot use a function or procedure parameter. So example, like if I execute a procedure case, if I have mentioned like a case condition, so case when employee is 1, then print RAM, else not applicable. But same thing if I use in decode, that cannot be work. It will throw an error. In case, data type must be same in all conditional check, but in decode the data type can be different for each condition. Case handle null differently than decode, and decode handle null differently from case. Case execute faster in optimizer, but decode is bit slower than case. So I already have a video on case and decode difference in depth, which you can refer. Okay, let's see the next question. So the next question may be asked like, what is the difference between substring and instring? So substring function return the sub part value between starting position to end position. So substring required a 3 parameters. So the first is the string value, the second is the starting position, and third is the end position. Select substring Ram Kumar. Starting position is my 1 and end position is 3 from 12. So output is RAM. So why it is printing Ram? So 1 is a starting position. So starting means the first character. So this is R, and till what is the end position? 3. So RAM. So first, second position and third position. So RAM. So that's why it is printing RAM. Let's understand the in string. So in string will return the very first position number of the substring within the string. So this requires a 2 parameter like in string. The first is the strings and what exactly we need to find, and it will return the position where exactly this character is defined in the string. So here you can see that we are trying to find a. Okay, in this string we have a 2A like RA. Here also we have Kumar also have a character. So it will always find the very first position of A. It will return the position 2. R the first position, A is the second position. That's how it's returning 2. So the next question may be asked like, what is the difference between primary key and unique key? So primary key is a unique identifier for each row. What it does not allow the duplicate value in the same column, which is defined as a primary key. So it does not allow duplicate value in primary key column. We can have only one primary key in a table. So we cannot define a multiple columns as in primary key. Yes, we can make a composite key like employee ID and employee name makes a primary key, but we cannot have a multiple primary key on a table. When we create a primary key, by default one index will also create. If we drop a primary key column, that primary key index will also drop. Let's understand with example. I'll create a new table, employee test. In that we have two columns, employee number and name. Let's insert some dummy records. So here I'm inserting one as an employee number and name as in John. Again I'm trying to insert one as an employee number and Mary is the name. So currently there is no primary key defined in this table, so it is allowing to insert duplicate employee number also. Now we'll add a primary key on this table. The alter table, table name, add constraint, primary key name and primary key on which column we are adding. So employee number we are adding here. So if I try to alter this table and try to add a primary key, what it is saying, cannot validate employee number, primary key violated. Why it is throwing that error? Because attempt to validate a primary key with a duplicate values or null values. Because we already inserted a employee number 2 times. So if I write a select statement, select star from MP test. So it will display 2 row with the employee number as in 1 and 1. So what we have to do that we need to delete this. So currently it has a 2 records with the same employee number. So we'll delete one record, one row deleted. Now we'll add primary key here. So table altered, primary key added. So here you can see that there is no table here. So we'll execute. So employee test, that table that we have created, it is displaying here. And also in index there is this one. Now you can see that one primary key is created. So automatically that primary key will create when we define a primary key on a table. So this index is created on employee number. If we create a primary key, index will also create. Now we'll try to insert duplicate records. So here see already employee test have one record with the employee number 1. If I again try to insert, earlier it was inserting, now it is throwing unique constraint. So primary key does not allow a duplicate record. So that's the advantage of using primary key. If I change to 2 here, it will insert one row inserted. Let's execute this. So we have 2 records here. Now if I drop the column itself, it was there on employee number. So if I drop this column, the index will also drop. Now currently it is showing, if I refresh this, see there is no index on this table. So if we drop a column, primary key column, index will also drop. Now we'll see the unique key. We can have a multiple unique key on a table. Unique key also does not allow duplicate value in the unique key columns. But the main difference is primary key does not allow null values, where unique key allow only one null values for the column. So unique key also works like a primary key only. We can define multiple unique key on a table. Okay, primary key was only we can define a one only, but unique key we can define multiples. And there is one more difference is unique key allow one null values which primary key does not allow. That's the difference. Let's see the next question. So the next question may be asked like how to find a duplicate values in a table. So you can use this query to find a duplicate records, and this query we can refer to delete a duplicate records. Let's see. So here in employee table, I have inserted some duplicate records. So employee ID is duplicate here. 2 records are duplicates. So to find the duplicate records, we can use a select employee ID on which column we want to find a duplicate. Then count of employee ID from employee table, then group by employee ID and having count of employee ID greater than 2. Okay, so if I execute this one, it will show me this employee ID are printing having 2 times in a table. So that's how we can know that how many duplicates record we have. If we want to delete a duplicate records, we can use this query. So there are many queries, but this is the simplest way is to use this delete statement. So here delete from employee where row ID. We are using a row ID here greater than select main row ID from employee where employee ID A dot employee ID alias equal to B dot employee ID. So same table referring here as an alias A and here alias B. So if I execute this, it will delete the duplicate records. Now if I execute the employee table, see all the duplicates got deleted and only unique records are available. So like this delete statement can help you to solve the problem where there are 2 duplicate records and you need to delete 1 records and keep 1 record only in the table. So this query can be used. This query can be used to solve that issue as well. So the next question may ask like difference between rank and dense rank function. Rank and dense rank, both functions are used in SQL to assign a ranking to each row in the result set. The main difference is like rank skip the ranking if it finds a duplicate values, but dense rank does not skip the ranking. Let's understand with example. So here I have a table exam result. In that I have all the students name and their marks, and based on that I am executing. So here you can see that in rank section 70 marks. So in science and math both subjects C got 70 marks. So in ranking it assigned the first, and for second row also it assigns 1 only. But for third ranking, it skips second and it assigned to third only. But in dense rank, even though it assigned 1 and 1, it does not skip the ranking and it keep the second position here. This is where there is no duplicate values. So it is assigning 1, 2, 3, both rank and dense ranks. So that's the major difference between rank and dense rank. Let's see the next question that may ask what's the difference between subquery and correlated subquery. So subquery, it does not use value from the outer query. So in the example, select the employee name from employee where department number in. Select department number from the department table where department ID equal to 9. So this inner query also can be used separately without using from the outer query. That's why it's mentioned that it does not require values from the outer query. So if we execute this query, it will return the employee name from the department ID 9. Correlated subquery, it's a query that use value from the outer query. In this case, inner query has to execute for every row of the outer query. So in correlated query, here the select employee name from employee where salary greater than salary, average salary from employee B where A dot department number equal to B dot employee number. So here inner query will execute always for our outer query. So that's the difference. So here that is depend, that inner query is always depend on outer query. So in correlated subquery, inner query always get a values from the outer query, but in subquery its inner query is independent. It does not require any value from the outer query. That's the difference. Let's see the next question. So the next question that may ask like, what is dual table? So dual table is automatically created by Oracle. So when we install database, it automatically create a dual table. We don't need to create manually. It's defined by the database. Dual is the schema of user sys. So sys is our main user, but it is accessible by name dual to all users. So by default, this table is accessible to all users. So it has a one column dummy. So data type will be always varchar one only, and it contain one row with X value. So sometimes interviewer can ask like what is the data type of a dummy column. So you can say that varchar one only. Sometimes they can ask like, what is, if I say select star from dual, what will be the output? So you can say that X will be the output. So you can see here in the select statement, select a star from dual, it's printing X, and this column name is dual. Okay, so that is the dual table. The next question that interviewer may ask like, how to debug the PLSQL code. Use dbms underscore output to debug the code. That's the basic things that we can start with the debugging the code. So to print the output of the dbms output dot put underscore line, we need to make this set server output on, so that whatever we are trying to print on this, it will print here on console. If we don't set this set server output on, it will not display anything. So make sure you have set as in on. And this is the dbms output, which we can add anywhere in the code. So here also we can add here as well. So anywhere, wherever we want to debug the code, we want to print the what values that variable have, that we can add in the dbms output, and we can check data. So that's the basic things. Once you learn in depth, you will get more things. How can we debug the codes? Okay, now let's see the next question. What is the difference between commit and rollback? So whenever any DML operation are performed to save permanently in the database, we use commit. In rollback, whenever we perform any DML operation and we don't want that changes to be saved permanently in a database, we will use rollback, so that all the changes will be revert to its initial stage. So that's the end of this video. If you like this video, please subscribe my channel, so that I'll create more videos on interview question and answer. Thank you for watching this video.